Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive? Today, we're going to do something a little different. We're going way back in time to the Old Testament, to the Book of Numbers, to see if we can dig up any business wisdom. We're going to be focusing on chapter 1, where Moses gets this interesting task of counting every single Israelite man ready for battle. It might seem kind of random, but stick with us. There's some surprising stuff in there for all you modern entrepreneurs.
It's easy to just dismiss this as a head count. But if you really look closely, you see that Moses was actually conducting a really sophisticated analysis of all his resources. He needed to know, he needed a clear picture of his manpower, their strengths, and their weaknesses, so that he could successfully lead them to the promised land. It's almost like an early SWOT analysis, if you think about it.
That's a great point. I never thought about it that way. But yeah, a SWOT analysis, that's exactly what entrepreneurs need to be doing today, right? Understanding your strengths, your weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's like business 101.
Absolutely. And just like Moses couldn't conquer the promised land all by himself, entrepreneurs today, they need to build strong teams if they want to succeed. And it's interesting, Moses didn't try to count every single person himself. He was smart. He delegated that task to leaders within each of the 12 tribes.
Delegating effectively, yeah, that's definitely a timeless leadership skill. But it also makes me think about organizational structure. If Moses hadn't already organized the Israelites
Yeah.
into those tribal units, I mean, this census would have been pure chaos.
You're absolutely right. A clear structure is essential for any kind of large undertaking, whether you're leading an ancient nation or a modern startup. And it also points to a really important business concept, the delegation of authority. Moses understood that to manage a large group of people effectively, he needed to empower others to take ownership of specific tasks.
That makes me wonder, is there anything like a responsibility assignment matrix in the Book of Numbers?
Huh. Well, maybe not in those exact terms, but the principle is definitely there. It's all about clarity. Clarity of roles and responsibilities, which is, let's face it, absolutely crucial for any team to function effectively.
Yeah, and it's not just about delegating tasks either. It's about trusting your team to get the job done. Moses had to have a lot of faith in those tribal leaders to get an accurate count.
Exactly. And that trust is built on communication, setting clear expectations, and giving your team the support and resources they need. It's about empowering people, not just dumping a bunch of tasks on them and hoping for the best.
It's fascinating, isn't it, how these really old practices are still relevant today. I mean, we're talking about a story that's thousands of years old. But those principles of leadership, delegation, organization, they're just as important now as they were back then.
It really speaks to the enduring nature of human dynamics. Whether you're leading a tribe across a desert or a team across a boardroom table, certain principles of effective leadership remain constant.
And speaking of leadership, this census wasn't just some random activity, was it? This was about getting ready to conquer the promised land.
You got it.
That's a big deal.
It is a big deal, and it's a key takeaway for any entrepreneur. Just like Moses had a clear vision for the Israelites, entrepreneurs today, you need to have that same clear vision for your business.
So it's not enough to know your strengths and build a great team. You have to know where you're headed.
Exactly. You need that long-term vision to guide your decisions, to inspire your team, and to keep you motivated when things get tough. Think of it like Moses' roadmap to the promised land.
And that roadmap, that's the business plan, right? It's where you lay out your goals, your strategies, how you're going to get from point A to point B.
That's it. Your business plan is your strategic blueprint. It helps you articulate your vision, identify potential obstacles, and outline the steps you need to take to reach your goals, just like Moses did.
Okay, I'm starting to see how this ancient story is actually a pretty powerful business parable. Moses taking a census. It's like an entrepreneur doing market research, analyzing the competition, and figuring out their game plan.
You got it. It's all about taking stock of your resources, understanding your environment, and coming up with a strategy to achieve your goals. These are the fundamental principles of success, whether you're leading an exodus or launching a brand new startup. It's interesting to think about how Moses' vision for the promised land would translate into a modern business plan. What were the key elements? Abundance, prosperity, freedom from oppression. These are things that really resonate with entrepreneurs today.
That's a cool parallel, taking those ancient desires and reframing them for a modern business context. I mean, instead of looking for fertile land or, big flocks of sheep, today's entrepreneurs are seeking market share, a loyal customer base, and financial independence.
That's it. And just like Moses had to face obstacles, had to overcome challenges on that journey to the promised land, well, Entrepreneurs today, they face their own set of hurdles.
Yeah.
Competition, market fluctuations, funding challenges. These are like the modern-day equivalents of that wilderness and all the trials they had to go through.
So having a strong vision, it's like having a compass, right? To guide you through those tough times. It's about knowing where you want to end up, even when the path ahead is uncertain.
Exactly. That clear vision gives you a sense of purpose, gives you direction. It helps you stay focused on those long-term goals, even when you're dealing with setbacks in the short term.
This is making me think about resilience. You know, the Israelites, they had plenty of setbacks on their journey, but they kept going. They were driven by that vision of a better future. I mean, entrepreneurs need that same kind of resilience, don't they?
Absolutely. Resilience is so essential for dealing with all the ups and downs of the entrepreneurial journey. It's about having the grit, the determination to keep moving forward no matter how tough things get.
So we've talked about vision, strategy, resilience. But we can't forget about the people. This census wasn't just about counting heads. It was about recognizing each individual within that larger group.
That's so important. Every single Israelite man was counted. And that tells us that they valued each individual, even in such a large group.
It's like each person was a data point on a giant spreadsheet, but also a unique individual with their own story and their own skills.
Exactly. And it highlights another leadership lesson we can learn from Moses.
Yeah.
Recognizing and valuing the unique contributions of each and every team member.
Reminds me of those team building exercises, you know, where everybody shares their strengths and weaknesses. It's not just about figuring out who's good at what. It's about making sure everyone feels seen, everyone feels valued.
Absolutely. And this goes back to that idea of the responsibility assignment matrix. It's not just about giving people tasks. It's about matching those tasks to people's strengths and skills. It's about setting them up for success.
You know, it makes me think about delegation of authority again. You said that earlier. If Moses hadn't empowered those tribal leaders, I mean, it would have taken forever to complete the census. He had to trust his team and give them the authority to get the job done.
Right. Delegation without authority, that's just micromanagement. You have to give people the freedom to make decisions, to take ownership of their work.
This is amazing. Who knew that one chapter in the book of Numbers could be so packed with practical business advice? It's like a masterclass in leadership, strategy, and team building.
It really shows you the power of ancient wisdom. These principles, they're timeless, they're universal, because they're rooted in human nature. It doesn't matter if you're leading a nation or a company or just trying to manage your own life. Understanding these principles can make a huge difference.
I have to admit, I never thought I'd find so much business gold in the book of Numbers.
Sometimes you find the best wisdom in the most unexpected places. It's all about having an open mind and looking for those connections.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's just do a quick review of everything we've talked about today. So we started by talking about vision, just like Moses and the Promised Land.
And how that vision needs to be translated into a plan, like a business plan, a roadmap for success.
We also talked about building a team and the importance of delegating, giving people the power to get things done.
And we can't forget about valuing each individual, just like Moses did with that census.
It's like building a successful business, or even just living a good life. Comes down to these fundamental principles of leadership, strategy, and human connection.
It really is amazing. You know, you think about it, how much we can learn from a story like this one that's thousands of years old.
Yeah, it's like human nature hasn't really changed all that much. The principles of leadership, how to be successful, it's all still relevant today.
Exactly. We're all still basically striving for the same things: security, prosperity, a sense of purpose.
And you know, just like those Israelites were on a journey to a better future, entrepreneurs today, we're all on a journey too. It's about taking that vision and making it a reality.
One step at a time.
Exactly.
It's about knowing yourself, knowing your strengths and your resources, building a strong team, and having that resilience to overcome those challenges. Because you know there are always going to be challenges.
You know, this makes me think about all those personality tests that so many companies use these days, like Myers-Briggs or DISC. It's another way to understand your tribe, so to speak.
Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, like knowing your team, their strengths and weaknesses, their communication styles. It can really help you build a more effective team.
Absolutely. It's all about gathering information and using it strategically to make better decisions, just like Moses used that census data to plan the journey. Entrepreneurs today, we can use all kinds of data and insights to guide our business decisions.
So data, it's like the modern day census.
I like that.
Yeah, it's all about collecting it, analyzing it, and using it to your advantage.
Exactly. Data can tell you so much about market trends, customer behavior, how your business is performing. It helps you make informed decisions instead of just going with your gut.
You know, I'm really starting to see how this story about Moses taking a census, it's actually a really smart framework for how to build a successful business.
It is.
It's about understanding your resources, your people, the world around you, and having that vision of where you want to go.
And don't forget, success is rarely a solo act. Just like Moses needed his team, he needed guidance. Entrepreneurs today, we need to build our networks, find mentors, and always keep learning.
This has been an amazing conversation. I never thought I'd be learning business lessons from the Book of Numbers.
It just goes to show that you can find wisdom in some pretty unexpected places.
Yeah.
It's all about being open to new ideas, new perspectives.
So before we go, is there one final thought, something to really make our listeners think?
Let me see. I would ask them to imagine themselves as Moses, leading their own tribe. What kind of census would you take? What information would you need? What would you be looking for in your team? And most importantly, what's your promised land? What's that vision that's driving you?
Those are some great questions. It's all about taking those ancient principles and applying them to our lives, whether we're running a company, leading a team, or just on our own personal journey.
Exactly. We all have the potential to be leaders in our own way and to achieve great things by following those timeless principles of vision, strategy, and connection.
Beautifully said. Well, that wraps up our deep dive into the Book of Numbers. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.